All right. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Tim Bolin,
I'm Dan Smirch.
I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. Now, we're coming back to you here on this special episode. After a little brief hiatus, we have been hard at work, if you couldn't tell, on some new things for the podcast. We have soft rebranded with a new logo, new backgrounds. We're going to have some rotating images on all of our webcam stuff, at least for me and Dan for the time being. We're doing new things. We're launching a new series that I'm calling the Versus series, where if anyone who's followed the original podcast, it was just an interview series. So if you are a creator, if you're an artist, if you are in the gaming industry, movie industry, if you are just a really massive nerd like us and have a story to tell that is interesting and fun, we want to hear it. Reach out in our on all our social medias. You can follow The Modern Nerd on Instagram and Twitter. I'll have them all up on the link to this one at the bottom. Links in the comments. Excuse me. So that being said, we've got a whole lot of new things that we're going to be doing. Spoilers for the next episode. If you couldn't tell, we'll be talking about Star Wars. Shh.
Spoilers for what exactly?
For the next episode that we're going to look exactly the same
We're
in.
spoiling our own next episode?
Oh,
Man.
we just got meta.
Man.
So now that the shameless self-plug is out of the way, I want to just take this time to catch up. How you guys doing? How's life? No, what you been up to? What you been watching? What you been doing? What you been playing? The usual.
So I last time we talked, I was delving into Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, and oh yeah, it's good. It's my first foray into a From Software game. It's hard. It is more forgiving than I thought. Unlike most From Software games, when you fall off a cliff, you come back with just a little bit of health. Which is not what I thought was going to be the case, because every other From Software game, you fall, you die. And you have to run a long ways to get back where you once were. So it's not that way, and I'm really grateful for that. That being said, still quite difficult. I can never play that game more than like an hour or two. It's very intense. I'd say, and now I'm finally at a point where I can kind of chill picking off like the lowly dudes, but it's an intense game. So I've kind of stepped away from it a little bit. And I started playing a game called Subnautica, and it's very good. It's everything I want in a game. Lots of exploration, lots of undersea stuff, lots of crafting new materials, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's good to be into a game. And I finally finished Invincible, which we can talk about later.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
We will. Give us a brief. Did you enjoy Invincible?
I mean, yes, of course.
Okay.
So what happened was I watched that first episode, and it lured me in, guys. It lured me in with the sense of nostalgia, with the animation being just like the old X-Men cartoon of old. And then so much violence. Like so much mindless violence at the very end. I was shook. I was Game of Thrones shook, like speechless, and I was like, it took me a good solid week to get back to it, but then I finished it, and I'm glad I did. I think the ending of the show was not my favorite, but it's clear there are going to be more seasons. I think, so that's exciting.
Yeah. George, what have you been up to? You've been away. What have you been doing?
Away. I've been traveling, but I've been playing random things, mostly what I usually play, but also I watched a few things that are not nice. I watched two Ryan Reynolds movies. I know they're old. The Adam Project and also Free Guy.
Oh, I love Free
Nice.
Guy.
Those are both.
Adam Project is like, I kind of recommend. I watched it for movie night before I left, and I watched it again with my family. And my sisters really liked it. I was like, the Adam Project is really nice. Like, they're fun. It's Mark Ruffalo. like how do you not like? It's Ruffalo, dude. As a dad, as a professor, what a surprise! But like, he's just so good at that role that like it's amazing. It's a good movie. I mean, it makes you cry. Nice. So definitely that. I rewatched a bunch of the Netflix Marvel stuff on Disney Plus.
Oh, good.
So like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Punisher, both seasons of Punisher. And I will say,
have they edited any of them?
Yeah, I will say Punisher is edited. You notice that there's parts of it that are edited. Like,
you changed your settings to TVMA?
I think so. I don't know. I could check, but the audio is edited.
Oh,
well, you can't find it. You can't find the show if it's not MA.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't find the show if you don't change the settings. So I have changed the settings. It's definitely edited because some of the words they say are not. That's not what I remember. Like the words that are obviously swear words, like egregious swear words, are turned into non-egregious swear words.
This is what happens.
The big 4-letter words are not 4-letter words.
Well, yeah, it's expected.
It's all going to come down to Deadpool. Is Deadpool still going to be Deadpool?
It's going to be hilarious. Really, not hilarious. It'll be interesting to see. That will. This is funny because the rights have reverted back to Disney, and that's why it's on Disney Plus and all of that, so they're able to show it. But it'll be interesting to see if Disney Plus will ever release a version where it's like original, unedited.
I think you could probably get them like on DVD and Blu-ray.
Those you could get unedited. A physical copy. What I'm saying is will they ever offer you a digital copy of it?
No.
So
like where else you could probably download it, in the off the internet somewhere, but other than that, I don't know. They might have killed any streaming. You can only get it streaming now from them, and their version is not the original. So,
well, it is what it is at this point.
It is what it is.
I have a really stupid story, real quick. Speaking of what the hell are DVDs anymore? When I was working for an online frame and glasses vendor, I sat in a cubicle and we had to measure the distance between people's eyeballs, but we couldn't do it in person. So we had them take a picture holding up a CD like this. And so many people will be like, I don't own a DVD or a CD anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's outmoded, but I don't have an option here. I thought that was really entertaining. And this was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and that's even worse.
Yeah.
What have I been doing? I've been doing a lot. I've watched a lot. I've played a couple of new games. The big one that I watched Reacher. And I could not say enough good things about this show. If you've got time for 8 episodes or whatever it is, I think it's 8. It's wonderful. It's charming. It's violent. It's funny. It's dramatic. Like it's got everything you need. Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher, is fantastic. He was in the Hunger Games. He was Aquaman way back in Smallville. He's fantastic. He's just a giant dude.
Blue Mountain State.
Yep. Blue Mountain State.
Kooky get like comedy relief in Blue Mountain State. And it's
a wonderful show. If you get a chance, definitely watch it. It's a fast watch too. Like you get pulled in and you'll be like, I'm just gonna watch another. Oh, I want to watch another. I started the Wheel of Time, whatever it's called. Didn't finish it. Just couldn't do it. It's. I don't care enough. It didn't. Rosamund Pike is fine. Spoilers? No, I'm not gonna spoil anything.
Yo, guys, if Tim didn't finish it, that means it's bad.
I rarely don't finish things, but that's just me. It felt it's not YA. It's not like all the actors are in their 20s and supposed to be somewhere in their 20s, but it felt like they're like teenagers, like young adult type vibe going on, and I'm just like, I don't care.
So it's like a CW show.
It's interesting, and like I want to know kind of what happens, but as I watch it, I'm like, this is an hour long, and it feels like every second of that hour while you're watching it. yeah, so I didn't finish, but rewatching WandaVision as we speak, loving every moment of that. Obviously, want to do that before we get into Strange, because hers is going to tie in well. I hope. And then I replayed Jedi Star Wars. What the hell? Jedi Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Worst title ever. Just because it's confusing. Good. I love that game. Love is a strong word. It's a great game. It's got some issues that I got past, obviously, because I played it again. Story is great. And I played it on the Series X, and it looked beautiful. And I'm playing Tiny Tina Wonderlands. Really, really loving that game. I'm on my second. I've completed my second story playthrough on a second character. So I have 2 level 40 characters. And I'm excited to get more into the end game with my second character. It's fun. It's charming. It revitalized my love for the series. 3 was a big letdown, and this is just
I still haven't finished
fun.
it.
What?
I still haven't finished the third one.
I was with you when we didn't you finish it?
We finished it, but like I didn't play any I don't know. None
You
of
don't
the
need
DLCs.
DLC. You played the story though, right? You finished the story.
Yeah, we finished the story. I guess that's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just this one is fun. It's an entertaining romp through Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and she's the narrator, and so it
was the
her
best
type of
DLC
humor.
to begin with from the previous
what
Borderlands.
Yes,
her DLC was the best one
based
to begin.
off of the
yeah,
DLC,
her DLC was a game in itself. It could have been a sequel on its own. It was so good.
Which I mean, this is basically that, really.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm not going to get into it because
idea.
I know George. I think you're going to play it, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But it's
Wait
fun.
for
I love it.
New PC.
I like the characters. It's a whole different character customization. Like it really plays a lot more. Like in the old games, all you could do is change your head and like the color of your outfit. Now you can literally at any point in time go in and be like, I'm going to change the pupils, give them a beard, go hair. I'm going to change it to a woman in the middle of the game. I'm going to, you can customize literally everything. And I love customizing. So that was a good fun
That's kind of cool
addition to the game. Yeah, it was enjoyable. You'll get there really quickly. Yeah, kind of, but much more linear and a lot less time consuming as far as main story. You'll probably get 25 30 hours out of it max for story and side missions, but the end game is very entertaining. I was just delivered some boba. Screw you guys.
Dun, dun,
In your
dun,
silly
dun, dun.
water. All right, I could go on, but I won't. So
also
awesome.
I've been watching
Yes,
Picard.
please.
I don't know if Smirch has.
Ooh, are you enjoying it?
This season, maybe not as much as last season.
Let me ask you this: were you a Next Generation?
Yeah, of course
person?
I was.
See,
Next Generation was the first Star Trek I ever watched.
What?
Next Generation was the first Star Trek I ever watched.
So that's awesome. I think that was what I saw when I was a kid, but I never really got into it.
I never watched the original series.
Would I be able to enjoy Picard having not watched Next Generation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dude,
because I can watch it out here. It's on Amazon out here.
I strongly feel that that it's not like for something of that time. There's always going to be some. If you ever watch anything from that era, there's always going to be some painful moment that like is either insensitive towards cultures or just like doesn't age well. I'm sure. I'm saying in general, like if you watch anything from that time era and it holds up. Maybe sure, effects might not hold up, but like
that first season it looks terrible. I did try and watch that a couple years ago.
Isn't great, but it and even the second season people would say isn't great. I still think it's fine. Third season, you're in the thick of it, and it gets better with each season from that point on.
How many seasons are there?
7.
Yeah. Plus like a lot of like a handful of films.
Yeah.
I've seen all the films.
Oh, well, then you're good.
But I haven't seen any of the. I saw like the first like 8
Good.
episodes of the
You
first
should-
season.
dude,
I was
I mean-
enjoying it, but like at the time, whatever platform I was watching it on took it off. So I was just like, well, fuck
Yeah.
me.
It was probably
It's-
Netflix.
I mean, Patrick Stewart
Yeah.
he's amazing, and this is honestly in some ways still his crowning achievement. He really doesn't get a lot of time to really show off his chops, but it's always good. And when he does, it's like, oh my god, now I remember why you are
Talking about next gen, not Picard.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The new series is whatever. It's fine, but yeah,
Looks cool.
Next
it
Generation
is what it is.
I hear Discovery is real good.
Eh,
At least it started
I
off
hear
real
it's
good.
getting better.
Is it?
I'm not a fan,
That's what I heard.
but I
you
only
know,
watched the first season.
for me, like I diving in, like as you'll find out later, for me diving into Star Wars was a lot easier than diving into Star Trek, because at the time,
Absolutely.
like Trek was an investment. Like even
Mhm.
as like when
Like
I was
Doctor
watching,
Who.
I would have been like 12 or some shit. Yeah, like Doctor Who. But like when I was a kid, I wasn't gonna be like, I want to watch every episode of Star Trek right when I could watch 3 movies as a kid and be like, I'm into Star Wars. You know what I mean? That's it. I don't have to invest
That's
So an easier
every
entry
week and
point.
watch the thing. Yeah, so I just never got into it as much. I found some of it cheesy, you know. I mean, because it is,
I will say this: a lot of the, like, you know me, and you've watched all of Stargate. So one of the funny things is like, we've always said that Stargate is like a parody of sci-fi television, and like there's direct episodes of Stargate that are parodying and making fun of direct episodes of Star Trek Next Generation. You're like, that episode, oh, I get it now. It's making fun of that episode from Star Trek. Like, you'll literally be like, it's literally the same storyline, just like a different characters, and it's like the same solution. It's just a goofy take on like Next Generation. Honestly, I've always felt like that's what, like, Stargate and Star Trek Next Generation, like, hand in hand, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say, other people's acting abilities do pale in comparison to Sir Patrick Stewart.
even number
which-
2.
Especially number 2.
Yeah, no, I know,
I
know.
But he's still pretty good. And you know, but there's, I mean, Commander Data is top notch, and
Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
dude, he's so good. And you obviously can be like, well, he's clearly more than an android, but the answer is yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
I'm a Whoopi
maybe
Goldberg
evolves.
fan too. I love Whoopi.
Whoopi Goldberg's good. I mean, when you get her for like the 2 to 3
Yeah,
minutes per
it's so
episode.
sad because she doesn't show up until
Yeah.
like later on, and then you only see her for like 2 seconds, and maybe like one episode a season is about her. If you're lucky, you
But
got a
everything
2-parter.
she says is like, you're like, that's a wise woman.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
like
I
he
can't
goes
tell if
to
they're giving
her.
her good lines or if she's just that good at like
Yeah.
delivering them. It's probably both, but
Mhm.
it's very good.
yeah.
All right, so Dan has now watched Invincible. No relation to our color coordination for the new logo. Didn't even think about it. And then it was pointed out, and I was like, damn, fuck it, I like that show. George, you've seen it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I watched it when it came out as well.
I didn't
so,
watch it right away, but I did watch it.
It was fucking tastic cartoon. Just the animation was great, the story was cool, it was violent, it was moving, it had great characters in it, and you know, the messages even could be relatable between, like, you know, growing up and responsibilities, and you know, parents putting their responsibilities on you even though you don't want them, and blah blah, all the classic tropes, but like done so well in such a classic format. Yeah, that first episode I was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty cool show. I'm digging this. I like it. Wham! Literally end of the first episode, murders the entire elite team that is there to like defend the city and planet and everything. Oh fuck it, that show is like a year old almost at this point. Yeah, no, I loved it. I like the ending. The memes that came out of that are just ridiculous, and you know, I mean, J.K. Simmons for the win.
J.K. Simmons.
I am Tenzin.
For the win, right? Tenzin.
J.K. Simmons.
Have you guys seen that
watching that.
meme where it's like Loki running in to talk to Owen Wilson and being like, different variants of different people are like coming to attack us, and it's like all J.K. Simmons different variants is like it's like J. Jonah Jameson, Tenzin, like this guy from
J.K. Simmons. I gotta
Invincible,
say,
like every single variant of J.K. Simmons, him as Commissioner Gordon from Batman, like every
The
single
dude from Whiplash.
Yeah, every variant of J.K. Simmons showing up, it's just like, oh my god, it's him,
What
dude.
a great character actor.
It's him, dude.
So good.
But I'm gonna make a J.K. Simmons appreciation post after this. Make sure to follow the Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. Coming fresh off of it, what was one of your favorite parts?
I mean, the first episode stands out. I do think it feels like the rest of the show couldn't quite live up to the gravity of that ending. Maybe it's just because I went from, like you said, from, seems nice to holy fuck. So from that point, there wasn't a swerve like that. So that would easily be the highlight for me. I think it was a great step forward and like a fresh perspective on being a superhero, becoming a superhero. A lot of things that aren't talked about, like semi-realistic interpretations of, like, how people learn to fly, and that it's not this thing you can just kind of do and you have to learn. And I liked everything. I liked a lot of things about it. It's a good, fresh perspective on superheroes and how some of them can be dicks and not everyone is who they appear to be. I really loved the I don't remember his character's name. The guy who basically tricked Invincible to help him take over the criminal underworld. From what a fun little swerve that he outsmarted this robot. I look forward to more with his character and his song, his theme song, I forget what it was. Make way for the king. It's such a great song, like good wrestling entrance song, by the way. And I like that about as well. And it's a good show.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved everything. The especially with what was the robot, the android who then puts himself into a body.
Robot. His name is Robot.
Robot. Yeah. Wasn't that God, who was the actor of that one?
It was actor who played Spock in the new Star Trek movies.
Oh yeah.
I forget his name.
Yeah, Zachary Quinto.
There you go.
And then you got Rex Splode, who is Manzukis, isn't that his last name?
Yeah. He's good. He's good at what he does.
He's wonderful. So here's fun facts. Invincible was originally released back in 2003. That was when the comic book came out. So all of this, like, it's crazy how something that's almost 20 years old can still feel and have like that impactful moment in not just comics but in pop culture still again, and be relevant and be taken, because now that all of the, like, for comic book nerds, like that's what they were saying in 2003 is like Invincible is this great take on superheroes and like how it can be redefined and shown a new light and not just like I'm Captain America, no, and so it was awesome to then see it brought to the mainstream and hear you say that, have the same, who didn't read a whole bunch of comic books growing up. You did, but not as much later in life. And it's cool to be able to see that and have that show. Robert Kirkman's a wonderful writer, and he's from Chicago, I think, or he's in Chicago very often, because I knew a bunch of people who, when I was working the cons, they would Caleb, a buddy of mine, who, if you go back and listen to some of the old episodes, I got to interview him. He actually was at he had these drawing parties, and he would go over to Kirkman's place and do it. And I was like, that's what? Like, you just hung out with Robert Kirkman, like the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible. Like, that's amazing. So It's super cool. He's a really down to earth, really chill guy. He's had a couple of episodes on Kevin Smith's podcast where he talks about the show and everything. So if you want more insight onto the show and how he brought it around.
Talking Dead ever? Do you know?
Probably. I
Yeah, that's
didn't.
probably a
I didn't
really
really
interesting
watch.
episode to watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch
Yeah,
too much Talking Dead. I only did
yeah.
like the first season. I'm way done with the TV show a
Oh
long
yeah,
time ago. That's
yeah. As are
oversaturated.
most of us.
Yeah, yeah, and so are apparently the actors because what's her name who played Carol dropped out of the Carol and Daryl spinoff TV show they were gonna do. She's like, no, I'm good. I don't. I'm good. I don't want to do that anymore. I was like, good. Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of being
Um,
scared and yeah, that's
yeah,
gotta take a toll acting like that all the time.
yeah, definitely. All right, so I got nothing else for this short episode. What anybody want to dive more into any of the games or movies or shows that we just watched? Let's talk about Free Guy. We all watched Free Guy. That was entertaining. Like it's a Ryan Reynolds movie for sure, but it had a little bit more than the trailer. Like you watch a trailer and you're like goofy, stupid,
I like
dumb
I,
action movie, but it's
I like
yeah.
the Mariah Carey bop in it. Shout out to 90s Mariah Carey, dude. They could have picked
But
any song in the world, but they chose that. So
well, of course they did. But it's got it has a little bit more depth to the story and characters than originally anticipated.
it's
And I
a,
thought
it's a
that was a
better
nice
version.
little
You know
change
what's
of
funny?
pace.
I was thinking about it. It's like a funner comedy version of The Matrix. Like, and I'm not talking
Yeah.
about the old Matrix. I'm talking
Kinda.
about the new Matrix that just came out.
Oh no, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Stop.
But that's
it.
what
We're
I'm
moving
saying.
on.
It's like
no, you ruined it.
It's
You've
literally
ruined
the same
the Free
movie
Guy talk.
almost with like a comedy version of it.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
Look at it. The characters are like
No,
almost the
I
same.
get it. It's stupid. No, I don't want to watch it again.
I was pleasantly surprised with Free Guy.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
It was I think I liked it a little bit because it actually wasn't a Ryan Reynolds movie, or at least he wasn't the main character in my opinion. It was about two developers, and there was kind of their love story, and he was like, tying it all together. But
More
that being
Taika.
said, I don't think he should act that much. I'm sorry. I think he's
Yeah.
a great director, clearly. But I didn't buy
It was a
1
weird
second
role
of
for him.
Yeah, he tried.
All his
It
roles
was-
are weird. Let's be honest.
He went all out, and it is. I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining to watch, but I did not believe him for 1 second that he was this person.
Yeah.
It just felt like he was pranking everybody.
Yeah.
So whatever. Props to what Taika. He's a fantastic director. I really look forward to. Here's a segue for you: the new Thor movie. We can talk
Thanks,
about
Dan.
the Thor trailer.
I was gonna do that too.
All right.
Go on. You got the floor.
The Thor trailer. I mean, look. It's. I guess I should have seen it coming. It's a little sad to hear our favorite God of Thunder talk about hanging up the axe or the hammer or whatever you want to call it. I gotta say I look forward to her portrayal. I'm not super excited for Natalie Portman as the whatever wielding Mjolnir, which I will look forward to finding out how they repaired it. Whatever, it's either gonna be a quick line of dialogue or it's a thing. I hope it's a kind of a thing.
I think there was a breakdown of the trailer, or at least maybe it was an image that was released where she's mending it of some.
She's mending it.
Something.
I look forward to finding out why
maybe.
she is who she is and why she's so worthy. And
Oh, well, I'm not going to say anything. I can't talk about.
Yeah, I mean, comic books not be damned, but like we don't know. It could be that. It could be something else. I know that in the comics, she is dying of cancer, and this basically keeps her alive. I don't.
I don't know for sure, but I'm almost.
I don't think
positive
they're going to go that route. But
I'm almost positive they're going that route. Yeah,
that's fine then. I look forward to seeing old friends and maybe some new faces as well. I'm definitely looking forward to Christian Bale as the portrayal of the villain in this movie.
Was he in the trailer?
I did not see him in the trailer.
I didn't see him either, but I'm excited and for most things Christian Bale. So
yeah, exactly. I'm excited for Christian Bale as a villain. I think in general, I think he has the potential to be very evil, as we've more or less seen in things like Psycho.
American Psycho.
So I am, um, I am cautiously optimistic about this movie. I still think it's going to be good. There's going to be tons of comedy to lighten the mood, as there should be with Taika. I just, it was a strange trailer. It was just, I don't know. It felt, I don't know. It feels like they're duping me again. I keep saying they're really duping us and showing us lies, which they have done. They did with the Spider-Man trailer and with the trailer from Avengers, but they haven't really done that in a while. Besides that, so I don't know how much of this is what we're actually going to see. But either way, I'm naturally going to see it. I mean, it's going to be a little sad without the Chris. Chris Hemsworth's Thor has become a pretty like he's given his like how many ways directions he's been dragged. Like he was kind of this like how he was in the first two movies, and then all of a sudden he's this comedy relief in the third movie. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. And now he's kind of like sad, but he's still cracking jokes. I don't know how much sense it all makes, but regardless, it's fun to watch, and he's great. It will be sad to see him go.
Yeah. It's I'm excited for the movie. I'm on the same kind of boat. I kind of hope that they like dial back the comedy just a little bit. Like give us a nice blend. Like I think he was he gave me one of my favorite like dramatic scenes in Endgame. I thought that was wonderful. When he's off with Rocket to go remake in Infinity War, when he's in Infinity War to go make the hammer, like, and he's sitting there talking about like
Forgot about
the
Groot.
loss.
Groot was
Yeah,
there too.
but like, yeah, and you can see that he's still kind of lighthearted, but like the weight of the situation ends up kind of sitting on him, and you can see him kind of feel it. I was like, that's a nice little blend right there, where he's still kind of fun and lighthearted, and like this charismatic god, but a god with like a weight, and I'm like, do more of that.
Visiting his mom, in the past, and him literally start to just break down.
Agreed.
And shouldn't really work, but
it works.
Doesn't matter. But Hemsworth is so convincing, and it works because he makes it work.
Yeah,
I
don't. Go ahead.
You can finish your thought because mine's gonna talk about something else.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think that we're gonna get a Natalie Portman Thor going forward. That's my guess. I think this is it for her. She's gonna have like a moment in the movie or the third act where she, you see her in the trailer with the helmet on and holding like a refraction, re-put together hammer. But I think it's going to be kind of like a Spider-Man third act where they all come together, do their thing for a significant moment, and not just like a blip on the screen, no pun intended, but to have like her there the whole third act and do a thing, and then I think the mantle will be passed somewhere else. I do not see her signing on to do more Thor movies.
That makes sense.
As her, I just don't see it.
I'm
surprised that they convinced her to do this.
Right, she was very salty with how things went down with the firing of the director that she originally signed on to work with.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That does make sense. But I guess I just assumed, like, it seems like people who normally don't like doing this kind of thing for multiple movies just kind of get roped into it anyway.
We don't need another Mystique. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
No, money's too good.
I don't want to see another actor weighed down by doing something and not enjoying it after the second outing. It really ruined the X-Men franchise for me. Having her just like phone it in for 3 movies.
They shouldn't have had her be like such a central character. Like, that's not the point. But anyway,
yeah.
Also, working with your ex probably a little takes the weight out of you as well. Nicholas Hoult, Beast.
They were dating?
Yeah, they were together for like a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
5+ years.
Yeah,
and then by the third and fourth one, like fully broken up.
Yeah,
so
rough.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's interesting to see how like well, we're not gonna spoil Moonlight because we're gonna wait for next week, but it's interesting to see like Marvel has like pulled back the lens right into a more cosmic level like we're less worried about what's going on with Earth now. It's like bigger cosmic level things with multiverse and all that. So it's interesting to see how like gods line up as far as like, you know, like there's God with a big G, and then there's gods with like little g's, which is like Thor and like, you know, some of the characters we see in Moon Knight and like
God with a big G, the Watcher.
God with the big G is like the one and only, quote unquote. You know, like there's
which
even
there
that.
is one in the Marvel universe.
Which there is one in the
like
Marvel universe, exactly. So there's like it's interesting to see
the one and only or something.
Yeah,
like that?
it's interesting to see how like everyone stacks up and like kind of the hierarchy on this cosmic scale, right? Because we see Thor as like he's a god of thunder, like that's what we've known him. But like when you look at it on the cosmic scale of who he is compared to, he's kind of like, as far as gods, he's kind of like the lower tier. He's just like only been around for a couple thousand years. He's like powerful, and he's more powerful than he probably ever has been known.
He's not a demigod. He is a god.
He's a god because the way that he became a god is he got it from his dad.
Marvel universe, he's a demigod.
Well, whatever.
I mean,
my point is he's a god. You call him a god because he's, and the fact is he can always become more and more powerful. You know what I'm saying? He has that ability.
Thing about that.
And so it's interesting to see how like, because with Christian Bale's character coming in and how he's going to kill a bunch of other gods that are similar, especially we saw a quick look at Zeus and like the Olympian like pantheon of gods. So it's interesting to see how like the Norse god pantheon compares to like the Egyptian god pantheon, compared to Wakanda pantheon, compared to like Thor and like the Odin Asgard pantheon of gods, and how it all kind of stacks up. And it's interesting to see how these people who are all earthbound mythical gods, how they kind of like moved away from Earth and like have all moved on from the Earth realm, right? They're either in another dimension or another part of space. They've pretty much let humanity do its own thing, right? And it's interesting to see how this all kind of, I don't know, relates and plays out, especially with Moon Knight, especially with, I'm sure we'll understand more with Doctor Strange, how like gods are in relations to each other and like the grander picture, I guess.
Well, what I wanted to say was that it is a tremendous challenge to write for a movie for a title character if they're too powerful. I think Thor personally, from my perspective, was more powerful than he is portrayed in the movies that we've seen him in, because you make him too powerful, you get the Captain Marvel Brie Larson effect, and that you have to write circles around the fact that how powerful this person is, and you either have to have a super huge threat, or you have to have them not be in the entire movie and show up for the very end of the battle scene. It's a rough spot for that, because you can't make someone too powerful because you lose interest. It's like, oh, they got this.
He already has that problem, as you can see from Avengers Infinity War. Like he literally showed up the last minute in that battle.
And I was also talking about Brie Larson at the end of Endgame. Like,
yeah, I know.
She couldn't if she
but
had
I'm saying
been
Thor already has that problem too. Like,
right. Well, Thor has a problem a little bit, but they've made him like get beat up a lot in these movies to like basically make a movie. Because if there wasn't those scenes of him, like in some ways, I thought like he was gonna give the Hulk a tougher fight, because I don't know, in my head, look, I love the Hulk, but I mean, in my head, like Thunder God versus like a thing that was made, before all this, that would have been like, that's gonna be a quick one. But he's getting beat up a bunch. But you could say he was pulling his punches. Whatever, I could talk about that fight all day. But they have to make him so much more vulnerable than I think he actually is. And I'm interested to see how they're going to do the new Captain Marvel movie, because she is, she's like the Superman of this universe, more or less. Maybe not quite to that level, but Superman has to get beat up in almost everything we see, and you're just like, what? Like, I don't like. Why is Superman getting his ass?
I will say this.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's interesting also because we got to see, maybe not a live action version, but we saw a Captain Marvel versus Thor battle in What If, and they fucking went toe to toe.
It was good.
They went toe
it
to
was
toe.
good.
Like they're evenly matched. So it just goes to show Thor is really that powerful if he really pushed himself and wants to be that powerful. I think Thor is not only just beginning to understand what he is, because the way, I don't know if it's the same in the MCU like film version, but in the comic book version, the way someone becomes a god is through like extraordinary acts or through genetics, right? So Thor has his godhood through the fact that he's Odin's son. Odin has his godhood through the fact that he's Boromir's son. Boromir is actually the one legend in that family tree who like did a god act and became godhood and then passed down the genes to the rest of his family. That's how it works in the like comic book story. So like big acts grant you larger amounts of cosmic power or godhood. Do you know what I'm saying? And you could pass it down genetics. So like it's the same thing with Peter Quill, is he has the ability to become even more powerful because of the genetics from a celestial. And he has the ability to become a god himself and even more powerful because of genetics, but he has to do more things through acts of godhood to achieve more power. And it's the same thing with Thor. He has to find himself. He has to like be one with himself and be okay with himself to achieve another higher level of like cosmic, I guess, peacehood or god transcendence. And then his power goes up even more than what we've seen. I think it's kind of like where he's at in the film, right? He's at his place where he's like, you know, down on his luck, and he's like not finding himself, and he's trying to find himself. He's with the Ravagers a little and the people, the Guardians. It's just like when he truly finds his true self, once again, that's always been his story, is that he gets knocked down. Same thing with the previous story. He finds out this horrible truth about his family, and it puts him in a bad mental state and like emotional state physically. And it affects how his powers manifest themselves. Same thing with Avengers Endgame. Like, he's fat, he's out of shape, he's down on his like his power is so much so in tune to like his emotional state and what he thinks he's capable of. That's the biggest thing about him, right, I think.
You're proving like that's like they have to find reasons for him why he's not 100% almost every movie.
Well,
and
so here's
for him, it's always emotional though. Do you understand me? It's always
true.
It's always mental.
Say, though, I think that that's true, and that is I think that's more of a factor than most of us would care to admit, and it's good that they are bringing it to the
every
forefront.
single movie. It's always a mental problem with him. Like,
I will say,
always, I think he's in his head.
I think Captain Marvel, in that fight between the two of them, I think she was holding back. I think she would have really hurt him if she wanted to. That's just my opinion.
Probably. So with the Norse gods, the Thor, Odin, Loki, all of them that we know in the MCU, they're not like gods in the typical sense of the mythology in that type of way, because even in the movies they keep trying to drive it home that they're like, oh, you know, these mortals think us the humans think us immortal, or you know how, you know, they talk about ways that they can die and everything like that it's not a typical god, if you will, because you know, people who generally believe in God believe you can't kill God, you know, you can't kill a god, you know, how would that work, because they're all-knowing, omnipotent, immortal beings, but these people aren't immortal. They live a super long time and have a ridiculous amount of power, whatever that may be, whether it's, you know, magic or strength or thunder and lightning and the ability for
power
vision,
through worshippers.
you know, in what's his name. So, you know, it's weird because like they're not typical gods. That's why I call them, all for the most part, demigods.
They
I know that
their power.
by definition they're not.
They draw their power, like funny Stargate reference. They draw their power from their worshippers, and the reason why they've left like the Earth plane is because people stop believing in them. And that's a big story that comes, like, spoiler alert, in the stories. That's a big story because it's how Kang got rid of them from interfering with his plans. Is he got rid of worshippers for these demigods, or these old pantheon of Greece and Norse and all that. That was his like big plan, you know, is to like get rid of them so that they won't interfere with his timeline. And because so
it's an interesting dynamic. To
really is.
George. to Dan's point, where you've got, I call it the Superman effect as opposed to the Brie Larson. I guess hers the Captain Marvel, because it is more relevant, more current. But like if you have something like that, some people might even call it the Wolverine effect, because he can't die. You know what I mean? There's no he can, I guess, in a sense, but there's not as much there's no stakes with characters like that. You have to create stakes, or you have to have a really fascinating character and a nice duality in the villain. You need a strong character for the villain or whoever they're going up against. You know, like if Superman went up against Bane, who cares? You know, he's just gonna fuck him up. Like, it's no big deal. But like Superman against Lex Luthor, like it's a different battle. It's not won by punches. It's a mental game, and so you have to have
Batman.
you have to have like depth of character and people that are surrounding him and supporting cast to make it more interesting. I don't think the Captain Marvel movie had that. I don't think the character was written very well. You know, I think you're basically right. Like, the whole movie was her finding her powers, and so there was like, that's what made it interesting to a point, because she's not at full blast, and so you're like, oh, there's still some sort of stakes or something. They created them by putting that power dampener on her and everything. I think if they didn't dial it up to like 6,000, then I think it would have been a little bit better. But it's interesting. I think Thor, though, doesn't suffer from that quite as much, because he is a more interesting character and he has a more interesting dynamic, A, in the team, B, with some of, maybe not his direct villains that we've seen in the movies, because who gives a shit about Malekith? You know what I mean? Or
to this day,
whatever. 3
or 4 good Marvel villains in total.
Yeah.
So,
but one of them's not even a villain anymore.
Yeah.
He's the hero of his own show now.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. That's the good dynamic there, is between Loki and
he's not even the main villain. You know what I'm saying? In the last couple of Thor movies, it's not like Loki's not the bad guy. Loki's the good guy, like, not the good. You know, he's the anti-hero.
He's the anti-hero.
Exactly. He's part of the team, if you will.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, we're gonna have a whole lot more to talk about when this movie comes out. Do we remember the release date? Did we see that? I don't even remember.
I don't think they put it out.
So we'll do more. So, as I said earlier, this was a very special episode because it was really just an introduction of the rebrand and going over a couple of catch-up things and the trailer. So,
one more thing.
What's one more thing?
If you got any kids, go see Bad Guys. It's a funny movie. It's a cartoon. It's a funny movie. Go see it. Go see it.
I'll
it's funny.
Stream it when it comes out.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a funny take on what if the bad guys in your childhood stories become good guys, and they're like a bank robbery team, like kind of like Ocean's 11. The big bad wolf is like the George Clooney character. It's
nice.
Hilarious.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll watch it. So we're gonna do a mysterious transition. So we're gonna call it for this particular episode. We went over everything.
To go to a transition scene.
No. Next week we're going to be doing, there's 1 or 2 episodes, because we're going to have to do a Moon Knight discussion at some point, and we're going to be doing a Doctor Strange episode because we're all seeing it on Friday. Now, it's weird time zones. I'm 6 hours ahead and blah, blah, blah. So we're probably going to be doing an episode next week, and look for, again, on the social medias, look for the new released schedule. I'm going to be dropping everything on my YouTube channel on a one day every week, so you'll be able to catch us technically live like you are now, and then I will re-put these up onto the YouTube channel. So if you don't get a chance to watch us live, you can still see everything on the YouTube channel. It's just a Modern Nerd. You've got a bunch of videos there, so if you haven't seen them, go back and watch them. There's some really fun ones. Dan and I have some really interesting conversations about like villains and protagonists and like what they mean. That was a really fun episode, and we're still going to wait on doing antagonists, because that's a much more, it's a different conversation, but we're definitely going to get into that. So thank you all for watching this episode here of the Rebrand. I really hope you like all the new stuff. If you again have more things you want to say and are a creator, leave a comment underneath here. You can reach out to me on my social medias. If you follow George down there, you can reach out to him. He'll get the information over to me, and we'll talk. We'll get you on here.
Maybe
We'll
I
get
will.
your story told, and thank you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe everything, and we'll see you guys next week.